You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Oh my gosh.
I've got a friend who's got a pond behind his backyard, and his wife posted a picture. She was ice skating on it. So I sent him a video. I said, here, buddy, here's a video on how to make your own homemade Zamboni. And he's like, oh, yes. I was like, there you go.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 195 of East Andriana's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell here, joined by co-host Zach Burcham, returning co-host Chase Peyton, and there is rumor that Mason Riley Rottinghouse is going to join us today. Zach, what are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about the winter storms that came through. Some people are still digging out. Rush Limbaugh passed away, and that seems to be bringing about all kinds of emotions for people, very different. The Daytona 500 was, I don't know, Sunday or Monday, may have gone into Tuesday. It was some point in the Monday morning. It was during the weekend, last weekend, with a surprise winner. And then we'll probably have some final thoughts. But first, it's nice and toasty in here. You know, it's cold and snowy outside. We'll thank the Patreon people. So anybody tell them Patreon, thank you. But if you contribute $50 or more a month, you get a weekly shout out. And so we got a big thank you to Chris Lamb, Christy Avery, and Jonathan Phillips. And then we got the Anthony Meyer GoFundMe. I'll go find the link in my phone and post it into the chat. And also, you know, no Guffey this week, and I'm over here. I'll also look up the links for the T-Chip stores. You want to get some fine Boss Hog merch? That's tchip.com/BHOL1234 or
mug.
BHOL mug.
This show
goes in the chat.
Is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. But hopefully you'll always learn something new. So we got pummeled with snow, guys.
Finally,
I broke down and had my driveway plowed. Chase, you apparently decided to be Superman and shovel. You live with like 3 geriatrics and then some infants, I think is the way you make it sound. You're the able-bodied man. What happened? How'd you handle it?
So I was pretty lazy. And usually we have someone just come and plow it, but for some reason we didn't. So I took my truck. I made a path with my 4-wheel drive all the way out. But then, you know, the road had been shoveled, so it was pretty high. And I was like, all right. I'm going to dig this out. I did. I hurt my back.
Just shoveling out at the end of the road.
Oh, yeah. I was going fast.
So what happened? Is it just did you compact it all and make it super heavy and hurt yourself? Because Zach over here, I think he shoveled out his yard and his mom's, like, you posted on Facebook, Zach, you've got like this crazy downward, like, driveway thing.
Almost got like a basement, kind of like a walkout garage driveway. I dug that out and they plowed, and I dug the Tahoe out like a pit stop, like a little pull-in entryway. One of my favorite things about the snow is I claim part of my side street, and I have like I leave a pile of snow between my car and the road, and it's that pile of snow. Barrier wall. My pile of snow is in the road, but that's not my problem. I'm not going to. And then, I shoveled out around my car.
You've got like a little side yard, a fence, and the Tahoe, and you've got no room. Like, I don't know where you put snow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like in front of the Tahoe, and then I have a section of fence, which is where the camper normally would be. And I have a pile of snow at each end of that. And then even last night after I got done running, I shoveled a bunch of snow in between those two piles into the yard. So my mom had a spot to park today when she came by. And then the pile of snow was for the kids to play in today. So I had like a 4-foot pile of snow. So I have like three 4-foot piles of snow, 3 or 4. Yeah. I just move it. I just throw it in a direction and just try to get it done. But the worst part is where they've plowed, like the edge of the road. Like my mom's driveway, it wasn't bad. You get to the very end where the road is, and then that's like huge chunks of ice, and it weighs like 3 times as much per volume as the other stuff. It was awful. So
see, my driveway never got plowed ahead of this storm. So we've had below zero temperature, below Celsius zero, below 32 degrees for like 14 days in a row. And we've had snow that kept accumulating. So I got this crunchy layer base anyway. So it wasn't great. Matt Sousa came by, and he said I was the very first residential customer he did all day. He'd been doing all the, the big high dollar commercial people, but he got to me, and it's the first time he's had to plow my driveway since I got a camper. So this has been like 3 years now. We haven't had a decent snow, and there's nowhere to put snow now. I've got the camper in the way, so you can't push it off to the side. So it all had to kind of get drugged back and shoved into my yard. So my front yard is like this enormous hedge of snow.
Could you make a good snow fort out of it?
You could make a massive, like 2 or 3 room snow fort. We could play.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
I used to be pretty good at making snow forts.
You could absolutely do that in mine. It's and then your kids did, Zach. I saw that they had some little holes cut in.
Yeah, they kind of dug in the top. They can't really work the roof part, but they made more like a snow volcano and were playing in it. And they wanted me to move more snow around. There's one of the big piles out in this. They would say, "Can you move that into the yard?" It's a pile that's like 8 feet in diameter and 5 feet tall. And like, can you just shovel that into the yard? No, I'm not shoveling that into the yard. I moved enough snow. That's the worst part is I like snow. I go running it, but we're still dealing with that layer of slush ice that fell like 2 weeks ago.
Right. So that's what I mean. That was the base that was still stuck.
So yeah, like if it's just on pavement, that's cool. But I have spots where it's ice around where the car was parked, where my wife was coming and going. It's like 6 inches thick. I just keep dumping salt on it, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's just still there.
Yeah, if the salt's there, you have to get it removed before it refreezes, or else it's even worse than it was before. So I had Sousa come by. I actually saw Mike Broyles. He called me. I was working and sitting in my front yard, and I see him roll by with his Jeep and a snowplow with retired man syndrome, ready to come
drive around.
Come to. He had a snowblower. He was ready to take care of me. Matt was going to be on his way, and I was like, we got it covered. But it's been a conversation with my family across the country this year. We've been talking, and the Texas family all of a sudden is getting snow for the first time in their lives. They're like, "What do you people do about snow? Like, do you shovel it? What do you get? Yeah. You plow it out? What do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, it kind of depends." I've never felt like we get enough snow here to actually justify a snowblower.
Yeah,
for me, it's like once every 3 or 4 years it'd be cool to have, but it's one more motor to have to deal with and one more thing to drag out and store and all the rest of it. This was the day to have it.
I'm game. I was game on Tuesday. I took a couple hours off of work. I just want to get over with to go over and handle my mom's. I was like, man, if I just had a snowblower in her house, take care of her house, and I would just snowblow all the sidewalks all the way to my house. It's a 1/4-mile walk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be a good neighbor. I'll just putter along, just blowing snow everywhere.
Just get them.
I'll come back a different way and hit every others. Like, but it's not. Yeah, we don't. Not that often we get that snow, but we got Monday into Tuesday.
So we shut down our office. I left like at noon on Monday. Nobody was going in on Tuesday. Henry County went red, like the most extreme, highest level, DEFCON COVID. Nobody's moving anywhere. Stay at your home and don't do shit. And yep, shout out. But Mike McCown says Blake McCown is digging out as well. He's available. Digging out your door. He says, shout out to Blake McCown for digging out your door. Did he dig out your door, Chase, or does he think he's offering?
Probably should have hired someone. I went to the clinic, and he was like, "Why didn't you just hire someone?" I was like, "I don't know." He was like, "What do you do for a living?" I was like, "I'm an electrician's apprentice." He's like, "Ooh, money." I was like, maybe in a few years." He was pretty funny.
Well, I told Sarah the other day I'd been shoveling. So Matt did all the driveway, but I still had to do like the sidewalks and and all that stuff. It was a shit ton of snow. Like it was. I kept moving snow and digging and shoveling, and I'm like, she's like, "Why do I hurt so much?" And she's like, "Because you're old." I'm like, "Shut up,
dude." All I know,
40.
I've never had trouble pushing snow. So I get out there and I'm going fast. I'm taking huge, heavy piles. I'm throwing them, and then all of a sudden I feel it. I'm like, "Oh crap! I just screwed up my back." I felt like my dad. He always had back problems. They started around my age, and I finished it out though. Probably didn't help the situation, but I finished it out. And
so Mike is saying that Blake McCown, who is our August guest, one of our August guests for the Indy 500, he did the door on the side we could actually come through today. Blake was here on Tuesday, and he shoveled this place out. So I will say he didn't get the race street side. I was ankle deep over there trying to get in today, but that's okay.
I just followed your
And
footprints.
then we got like another like probably 3 inches.
Yeah, so
today.
we got like literally like a foot of snow on Tuesday into Tuesday morning, and then it said, yeah, there might be a dusting, and it got up today and drove to Muncie, and it rained. It snowed till like noon.
Yeah, big flakes, big.
Yeah.
It was. I was sitting down. I could sit. Like, I didn't have to go anywhere. Thankfully, I could just sit there and watch the way of Tahoe. I just sit there and watch the roof rack rails get closer and closer, and then it was almost all melted by the end of the day. Like it melted away, but I was like, we're getting a couple more inches. Most of it stuck. It was just melting off the car.
Yeah. We're going to have some flooding.
So, Jared, I was looking at the Boss Hog of Liberty website, and I have hosted, this will be 51.
51st.
My 51st podcast.
Almost 1 out of every 4, or more than that.
Yeah.
This is.
I was going strong. It's been a while.
I know, but what was your batting average in college?
I don't even know if I had one.
Wasn't 250.
Wasn't 250. But, that wasn't a fart, I promise. I did the math, and you can almost, if you go back and you want to listen to one episode a week, you can almost, if you listen to one episode a week, it would last a whole year.
You can
hear my voice every week for a year.
I mean, honestly, you could listen to each episode's about an hour and a half. So if you listen to Chase Peyton, you could listen every day at work for 2 weeks and start over again. You would pretty much be able to go. You hear repeat every other week.
Yeah, I bet Christy Avery does that. She loves me.
It's very likely. Very likely. We never did lose electricity. Dakota did you see his pregame? He was ready.
He kept saying.
He put the chains on his truck.
Yeah. Kept freaking out about it. He was all ready to go.
He said he was just sitting there nervous all day because we had to wait for it to start.
Did he get called out that night?
No, he never did. Because he said everybody stayed home, and he was completely.
And he said it was light, and it was light, fluffy stuff, and it wasn't pulling power lines down. It wasn't heavy, and the stuff that I got up in the morning and cleared was shoveling, and like the last little bit of it was super light. It was like something like those little, you see how daisies, the little things that float. It was like that light that was coming out. There was some heavy stuff below it, but it was pretty light snowfall. We got lucky.
Yeah, I never lost power. I was pretty pissed though. I was in the middle of a Warzone match with my buddies, and it was 2-on-2. We were the last of the 4 people left, and we had them, man. We had them on the run, and then all I know is the power flickered, and we lost.
Oh no!
I lost. I got kicked out of the lobby. I was pretty pissed.
I was ready, so I got the generator. I had both my truck, my wife's car, my car, completely full of gas, ready to go. So I had 35, 40 gallons of fuel ready, 4 20-pound propane tanks ready to go. I could have been in for weeks and been prepared. Meanwhile, Texas appears to be a complete disaster. They were not ready in any way, Zachary.
Yep. And they're like and it's turned into a mess as to whose fault that is. But it's been fun to read about that on Facebook.
So if you're a patron, you got the show notes today in the Facebook group, and there's 500,000 people as of today that still don't have power in Texas. So 500,000 people. Apparently they had the same problem in 2011 as well. Texas has a totally separate power grid, essentially. Or there's a little bit of interaction.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to explain it to Chase,
no,
the
I already
electrician
know.
in this group.
That's why they're always
as the expert. But
that's why they're always threatening to leave the United States.
Yeah, they act like
their own country.
They can go do their own thing, and they're totally independent
until a little snow comes along, and then they're all like, "Oh, I need you guys."
So basically, they didn't have anything winterized. They're not prepared for cold weather.
Yeah.
So all of these things that I guess we just generally build into the way we construct powerhouses, they're not ready. It's just
I've heard that also might be one of the reasons why they have their own grid is because they have their own grid. They can avoid federal regulation on their grid. And that, I don't know if that requires them to do winterization or things like that, but apparently they don't. And everybody's like, a lot of people try to blame it on windmills. I went around and around with somebody locally about that, but they have all of every type of power plant that they have is shut down, or was it coal plants shut down? They did windmills freeze up. They also have like natural gas power plants that were frozen up because the lines were freezing going in there and they couldn't get fuel.
So the Washington Post article that we have about the Texas winter storm says that the state's fleet of generation has been shifting gradually from coal-fired to natural gas-fired and wind-powered plants. This winter, Texans are depending upon wind and gas-fired more than on coal. And essentially, the way the state's wholesale power market works is that utilities have no real incentive for backup power. They basically say they only pay for electricity if it's needed. So if you do like what we have here in Henry County, where you've got the backup peaking plant that Duke operates, they only get paid if you're actually selling it. You don't get paid for having an installation that's not going to sell.
Yeah.
The real question is where does Texas land on the most annoying states? Top 5 most annoying states in the U.S.
Is it? Are you annoyed by Texas?
They're a little annoying, man. It's all about Texas. Texas this, Texas that. I think they got to be in the top 5 for sure.
Well, what's your ranking? Who's the worst?
California's number 1.
California's Chase's number 1.
California.
Does New York, or because you're a Yankee fan, do you love New York?
New York, New Jersey, you could put them together.
So New York, New Jersey, California.
Florida's got to be in there.
Florida's on your list?
Yeah.
What about Massachusetts? They even make the list for you? Are you aware of them?
No.
They're like Delaware.
You're talking about those care. Boston people?
Boston.
Is it a Massachusetts thing or just a Boston thing?
I think it's
they're
just
their
a
own
Boston
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I think you take Boston out of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is probably a pretty good state.
Yeah, but it's like saying, hey, you know what? We're going to just get rid of.
I think
we're going to get Nashville out of Tennessee.
Texas could probably be top 3 most annoying states in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Texas was universally loved, man.
It might be loved, but it's like, oh, it's all about Texas.
You think
we're the biggest, we're the best. It's the Texas attitude that's annoying.
Illinois doesn't bother you?
No, I love Illinois. Go Bears.
I never met a person from Illinois that boasted about being from Illinois, but you don't talk to anybody from Texas for very long without knowing that. So
it's the urinal meme. It's the urinal meme where it's the guy comes right over to you and says, "Hey, I'm from Texas."
Yeah.
Oh, you always know when someone's from Texas. Always.
Yeah. You don't think Indiana people are like that too, or Ohio people?
Ohio people are. You know, a person's from Ohio by seeing the way they drive.
Or if you just walk into a room and say "OH" and then they answer you, you know.
Alabama people might be up there too.
Well, now we got to rank them. Okay, so you got California.
California.
1. So you get California 1, and then somehow you've combined New York and New Jersey. Are they in your top 5? Are they separate states?
They're down. I go California.
Yeah, so that's 1.
Texas.
2, 3. You're really putting Texas. Okay,
Texas at number 2.
All right, Texas is number 2.
Alabama.
Bama. All right.
Let's go New York, New Jersey.
And that's it. That's your 5.
Put Florida in there at number.
You're going to just purge New Jersey?
Let's go number 4, Florida.
Where do we put New York then? New
York and New Jersey are together at number 5. They're the same state, essentially.
You know, the people from Philadelphia, New Jersey, that little segment are probably gonna start throwing some batteries at you. Speaking of Philadelphia, New Jersey, they were stolen from today, Chase.
Where are they?
Carson Wentz.
Oh, from the Bears? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he was gonna be. You were praying for him.
No, I heard it was coming down to the Bears and the Colts, but he didn't want any part of the Bears.
Well, yeah, that's Mitch Trubisky's team. You can't take that away.
Hey, listen, I'd take Mitch Trubisky back for another year. I saw a good stat yesterday. Can't remember what it was, but he was right up there with the best quarterbacks in the league. He's the only player to ever win an MVP. Thank you very much. Nickelodeon's most valuable player.
Well, yeah, but if we're honest, there were only 2 players there were only 2 quarterbacks in that game.
Well, yeah, but he still won it. No, I didn't want Carson Wentz, though. I mean, I think with the Colts makes sense, but I don't know. I feel like you guys should have went after someone else like Deshaun Watson. Well, I really wanted you guys to get Matthew Stafford, though.
What about Colin Kaepernick? Do you think the Colts should have gone Kaepernick?
Let's not go there.
I will agree with Chase on the Texas, though, because there's people that are boasting on Facebook that they're still tougher. They're like, oh, you guys couldn't handle living down here. You guys couldn't. And like literally you guys' state is crippled right now it's because of
how much snow did they end up getting?
I don't know. 5 inches, 6 inches. Zach on Friday night was like, hey, you and I could make a ton of money going down to Texas and showing people how to winterize their trailers. Kind of an offhand
because they were flipping out. Like I'm on RV like groups in Facebook, and these people, I mean, I felt bad for them. No idea what they were doing. They're like, they'd never winterized a trailer before. Because like we don't have to worry about it. We live in Texas. Like they would rub that in. Like, and they're the kind of people like in camping groups. It's true. Them in Florida. That's the only. I guess that's one group. I was like, when does Florida even have an identity other than Florida, man? But camping groups is 100% one where they're like, oh, people ask questions in the end of October, November, questions about winterizing, and they're like, move to Florida, come down to Texas. We don't have to do anything. And now all those people are going to buy water heaters and water lines because they didn't do anything. There could be people like, yeah, it's all froze up. What do I do? I'm like, I hope you winterized it because if not, you're in a world of hurt. Like
it'd be going to be ugly. Well, there's people that don't winterize their swimming pools down there too. So there was TikTok, right? Chase, are you still on the talk?
Oh, I'm always on the talk.
So I've started to see the videos of the aftermath making the Florida TikTok, and somebody had spent. There's two memorable ones. One was somebody's aquarium that was barely functioning and the fish were frozen.
I saw that
because the house had no power, no heat, and the tropical fish were now about. They were. I had that happen once as a kid, and I had a Jack Dempsey where the heat had quit, and I was living in the back end of the house, and we brought him back to life. He looked dead, but he was just hibernating, really cold. So I have a little faith that the fish on TikTok might have come back to life. But there was another one where somebody said, "Hey, yeah, we've got our backup generator, we're fine," and they were running their lights and they were running their swimming pool pump. That was all they had.
Well, it was funny because when I was going to school down in Florida. I was over at my ex-girlfriend's house, and
was she hot?
I'm not. I was dating her. I don't date any uggos, Cher. Anyways, I'm over at her house, and I don't know. It was probably like 45, 50 degrees, and it was pretty chilly out. And I was talking to her mom. I was like, "Hey, man, you need to turn the heat on." And she was like, "Chase, we live in Florida. We don't have a furnace." And I was so surprised. I was like, I didn't know houses were made without furnaces.
My grandmother had she lived in what they call a park model camper.
Yeah.
So it had a license plate in the front window, but it was never going to go anywhere. It was, wheels were gone. It was a trailer basically. And it had a furnace, and it was just an electric only furnace. That was it. I'm like, it was just the weirdest thing in the world. Cause she's like, no, I run it like 4 days a year. Barely ever. It's just crazy. They're not prepared. I mean, you go down, you see Arizona and some other places, and they've got water softeners that are outside of their house. Like their plumbing and their building systems are completely different.
And I do feel for them on that. I feel for them on the fact that like people are like, oh, you guys, what are you gonna do? Well, I bet they don't have a salt truck. They don't need us. They get an ice storm normally, and ice storms are horrible. Like I posted a video of a guy who backed out of his driveway. His street was on a slant. He gets out of his driveway, and his truck just slides sideways down the driveway. I'm like, that would be, but. They don't need a plow, and they don't own any of that stuff.
What we deal with, like this is at the more extreme end of storms that we get. Once every 10 years, once every 5 years, we get something like this. We've had worse, but this is about the limit of what we're equipped to deal with. Well, where people are like, oh shit, I don't have, Charlie Barron's and the other You Betcha guy. He's like, every Midwesterner has these 3 shovels. And I'm like, no, you're in Wisconsin and Minnesota. You have 3 shovels. I have one down.
Yeah, I have one shovel.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have 3 different kinds of shovels to do things all the time.
Yeah, and the stuff that cripples us, Wisconsin,
right?
Even northern Indiana, lake affected part of Indiana.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, whatever.
Right.
We get 18 inches every other day.
Right at what stretches us. Like up there, everybody has a snowblower. Everybody has a plow attachment. Everybody does this stuff all the time.
One of those roof rakes. They can get the snow off the roof of their house.
They're doing all of that. They have cables on their gutters to keep them from freezing up. My gutters are complete and entire disaster. Then if you go down to Tennessee, the equipment we have is more than they would ever need. Right.
Yeah.
And Texas is like, it just, this is unworldly. Once a generation kind of a deal. It's like when March 1993, they had a blizzard and Atlanta had like 10 inches of snowfall on them and they were just screwed for weeks.
Yeah, it's funny because my girlfriend's living in Tennessee right now.
Eastern Tennessee has nothing.
Well, it's funny because like I was down there a couple weekends ago and they did get like an inch or two. But she says when they get like a dusting, just a small dusting, everyone's freaking out and they're like, oh, we got to go get the bread and the milk. And
I have a friend that lives in Western North Carolina and they get forecast schools closed.
Yeah.
And they got one time, and they don't have a 2-hour delay. That's not even in their lexicon. They don't. Why would you do a 2-hour delay? And he said by 9 o'clock, all the sidewalks and roads had cleared themselves.
Yeah.
But they had called school for the day because they don't even have a contingency for a 2-hour delay, which we don't apparently hear either too often.
So that hasn't been a controversy as the parent in the room. We've gone from snow days to, nope, it's just e-learning day.
Just virtual.
And that's caused a bit of a struggle for parents as well, because they're not prepared if their kids aren't going there. They need to either be home or not. They can't do their job and deal with an e-learning day at a moment's notice.
And some people are wanting, and I guess some schools have done it, just called a snow day. Just said, it's off. You're off. Don't worry about e-learning. That's a slippery slope. I see both ways because, like, just let the kids play. My kid's actually, it's not a problem. One's preschool, so he doesn't have anything to do. He's hanging out with his teacher. It's his mom. And then the other one's in second grade, and he has like a punch list. Here's your homework for the day. And he does like a video chat, like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And then if he works hard, which is hard to get him to do, he can be done by like 11. Evidently, some of the high school kids are logging in, and they're going through their entire school day almost in real time at home. So they're spending every hour they're logging in. That's insane.
Yeah.
And they give them some work to do. And if they're choosing to do virtual, that's a different thing. And some kids are choosing to do it all the time. But if it's like a snow day, run them through like a half day, like a 12:30 dismissal, and have them go through all their classes by 12:30 and turn them loose. But I do get the thing, you don't want to call a snow day and then it's a makeup day that they have to make up in like May or April, and on that day it's 72 degrees and sunny, and everybody would rather be outside and the kids are sitting inside. What
was your guys' favorite thing to do on a snow day?
You're talking to the guy who was homeschooled after 6th grade. I've been e-learning since analog days, man.
You were learning on scrolls.
When I was 10 and I was still going to school and we got a snow day, it consisted of, hey, go make sure that the goat's water doesn't freeze and the horses don't die. Go chop ice. And
you were never doing like snowball fights or
no?
Were you a big sled kid or?
No, we stayed home. We lived in the middle of nowhere, right? We lived out on Messick Road, which would get plowed 2 days later. So we were truly drifted shut and in isolation and just trapped with the radio and hope we had electricity. That's all we had.
What about you?
We would do some, like, I think I went to Morrell Park like once or twice. I was real lazy to the point where that's a lot of work to go down. And it's like, especially when you're a little kid, it's like 15 minutes to get yourself back up to the top of the hill. But there was a hill next to my house I grew up on, and then we lived on a hill, so we could get a good start, and that was a pretty good drop. And then you could go and like aim down the street and just try not to get hit by a car or hit a fire hydrant. And we would do that. Or I remember one year we had an oddball snow where it snowed, and then it got warm, and then it got cold real fast. And so it was like 6 inches of snow with a layer of ice on it that was thick enough that we went out and back and played hockey on top of the snow.
Now, I will say I would often be used as, my dad would have a tractor, but it usually wouldn't have real good weight distribution. So I would find myself standing on the back of the tractor a lot to counterbalance for my father so he could move snow. And then once all of that BS work was done, and we were in the clear, he'd take the GMC Jimmy or something and put us on a sled and tie one end to the truck and the other end to that, and then we'd go through some field at 30 miles an hour.
I've never been into sledding. I hate walking up hills. So I was a fat kid, so that wasn't for me, but I was huge into building snow forts. I'd spend like 3 days building the snow fort, and then we'd all have, a big snow fight, and that'd last for 20 minutes. So you're building this awesome snow fort, and then you use it for 20 minutes.
A lot of prepping.
Oh yeah, a lot of prepping. I loved it though. I loved hitting kids in the face with slush balls too. I ain't gonna lie.
Where was this? Where you're living now, or somewhere else? In town?
I mean, it was all over the place. Wherever I was at,
wherever you could get a pickup snowball fight.
Yeah. So I made a lot of kids cry at that school though. I ain't gonna lie. You're a nerd. You went out. You knew we were having a snowball fight. I was gonna hit you in the face with a slush ball.
If you had glasses, that was like the dead target.
3-pointer.
But it's funny now though, because my cousins are little, and I was talking to them. I was like, "Are you guys gonna go out and play in the snow?" And, they're on their iPads. They're like, "No." My little cousin was like, "I don't even like building snowmen." I was like, "Building a snowman's like the least fun thing you can do in the snow." Did you ever build a snowman? It takes hours.
I guess it all depends upon the scale
Yeah.
of the snowman. I don't have memories of building one that was good. No.
I think we built one. I don't think it was very good.
It's not fun. It's not a fun thing to
And
do.
that's kind of a sad thing to just watch it slowly melt away and
it
die.
just dies.
It's just a trash house.
It's there for like weeks, and it just like, and it gets dirtier and dirtier the longer it's up.
Yeah, I have two different childhoods I remember with snow.
Yeah.
Right? When I was very little, we lived in New York State, and it was like we literally had snow from November until May. Like it was just constant. And then you would have it here where 90% of the time you get snow for like 2 days and it's gone and it's just brown. Winters here are brown. This has been the strangest winter of having snow on the ground since, I don't know, we're probably 4 or 5 weeks of almost constantly having snow.
Yeah. I think it'll finally melt next week if I saw the forecast right.
We
Finally.
got so damn much snow though, Zach. I don't know if it's going to go.
No, they're going to be.
go away.
No, I did think that to myself. I was at Kroger today getting gas because I waited until after Texas froze up and they forced oil prices to go up 30,
gas is $2.65 a gallon.
30 cents.
Thanks, Barack Obama.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah, and
Immediately, it's his fault.
yeah, and the pile at Kroger, like they got almost all their snow in one pile, and it's in like the northwest corner, and it's
That might
15
be there
feet tall. It'll
until
be there
4th of July.
Yeah, maybe 4th of July. It'll be one dirty little just pile of rocks and rubble in like, because I looked around, I was like, yeah, these piles are going to be here for a while. But I think off the roads and like areas where it wasn't piled up, it might be because I think it's supposed to. I saw maybe 50s in the forecast.
Have you and the boys made yourself any snow ice cream yet, Zach?
No, and
That's
you tried to
been
kill
running
that for everybody
That's
too.
been running around the Facebook.
Because somebody, I think that somebody posted, it was like a recipe for snow ice cream. Never done that. My family used to make homemade ice cream back in the day, but then somebody took a video or like a time lapse picture of snow that they shoveled into their bathtub and then showed what it looked like after it melted, and it looked about
It
like
turned yellow.
It turned into puddle water, like just straight puddle water. And I was like, "Oh, come on!" I was like, "I don't need to know that."
As a child, it was like that. In the late 80s.
Yeah.
Acid rain. Everybody's afraid of acid rain. I'm like, what is this? Like battery acid? This is going to come pouring. Cause your batteries turn nasty in a flashlight. I'm like, is this what the rain's going to be? That's the terror that I had. That and the ozone was going to be destroyed. This is 7-year-old me in 1990.
You're pretty old. How does this compare to the blizzard of 78?
Oh, you caught my boomer trap earlier in the week. I did that for Zach. Zach is just so tired of hearing about it that I said, watch this. I think I even told you when I was doing it. I said, I hope they go for the all-time record so that this shuts everybody down that has been climbing uphill both ways for 7 years.
There they go.
The boomers have set the alarm off. I can hear the police. They're coming for us. They are heading this way. Your snow ice is granulated sugar, milk, salt, vanilla extract, and snow.
I mean, the one good thing you could think about was this bathtub. It looked awful, but it also, if you take like a whole cup of snow and you just let it melt, it'll be like that much in the bottom of it because the snow is like that is some
a lot of
highly aerated water. Yeah, but I was like, oh, come on, Jeremiah, you're trying to kill it for the kids.
I've eaten a lot of snow in my time, and look how I turned out. I'm fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Just stay away from the roads and like just don't off the side of where they've been.
Yellow
salted.
snow's the best.
So you know who decided they were going to handle this in their own unique way and get the hell away from the snow?
Who?
Ted Cruz. He said, I have no electricity at my house. The heat's turned off. His daughter said, hey, can we get away from this? And he said, sure. Let's buy round trip tickets to Cancun with the family.
I mean, he's called Lion Ted for a reason, Jerry.
So Ted books himself some tickets, flies commercial like every regular any man would do.
Does Ted have the money? That's worth chartering. That's worth finding some way and not flying commercial.
He goes to the gate and gets pictured getting on a flight from his home in Texas, standing at the airport gate, and they see that he's flying to Cancun. He gets down there. The world has gotten pissed off because he's not senatoring.
It's like right there with the Chris Christie on the beach. Like, as a matter of fact, there's going to be a picture of Ted Cruz on the beach if they can get it in the next couple of days.
So, and then instead of he gets down there, he figures out that he's losing a political. The optics are bad. So he says, no. I changed I'm coming back right now. I was just making sure my daughters got down here safely because it's Mexico. And I'm going right back to make sure we get that power turned back on in Texas.
Which he can do nothing about.
Chase, do you know what the right answer would have been at that point for Ted Cruz?
You caught me.
His answer should have been, there's nothing I can do as a senator. I fully support Greg Abbott or whoever the hell the governor of Texas is, and we're going to make sure he has any resources he needs federally. But I fully support our governor, and our people are going to get things back going, and my office is supporting him any way they can.
It would have been better if he did the interview in a Hawaiian t-shirt or something.
With a drink, with a
I had a
umbrella
Zach Brown band playing in the background.
Just ass in the sand. Do you remember, Chase will have no idea, but in Muncie, there used to be a mayor, McShirley, Sharon McShirley. And she had the worst luck in the world of going on vacation to Hawaii in the wintertime. And that was when Muncie would get 6 inches of snow. And every time the Star Press would try to be like, hey, where's Mayor McShirley? And she was always in Hawaii on a regular vacation. I honestly don't blame Ted Cruz. They were on vacation. If you're on vacation,
he has nothing to do with anything that happened there.
Have the stones to say, yeah, I'm gone. Sorry.
The relief bill's already been passed. It's been signed. There's nothing I can do.
It is what it is. But then it's just typical politics of no, I'm just coming straight back home. I was escorting my family down here because my kids have to have help. That's the BS of it, Chase. I don't care. I wish he had stayed on the beach. Whatever.
Got my toes in the water.
You have a statement with a Mai Tai in his hand. Just not a
Go
care.
full heel. You know,
smoking one of his cigars he's famous for.
Rush Limbaugh would be rolling over in his grave right now over Ted Cruz in this. Limbaugh would have said, the late Rush Limbaugh, we lost him this week. Limbaugh would have said, just go for it, Ted. The hell with it. You don't know anything to these people. Take your vacation time. Senate was out. Because they had President's Day, the whole Senate was gone. They never work Fridays anyway. So in Washington, it's always Monday through Thursday. Monday was gone, so they just had the week off. The hell with it. Were you a Rush Limbaugh guy, Chase? Did you ever listen as a kid? Growing up in a Christian conservative household.
So I can remember my grandpa listening to him, but he was more of a Glenn Beck guy. Rush Limbaugh wasn't my style. Now, my ex-girlfriend's stepdad from high school loved him. Always listened to him.
So if you were a 90s Christian kid, and Chase is obviously a mid-2000s Christian kid, you heard a lot of Rush Limbaugh on the AM radio, and you had Carmen, the musician Carmen. And he died this week, too. It was like your childhood just got shattered. Horrific. And then as soon as that happens, then they say that Bob Dole's got lung cancer, too. I'm like, it's got to stop. Too much. Too much. Zach, nobody can die unpolitically now.
Yeah.
It's no matter who it is, what it is, it's always... even if people are trying to say something nice, they can't say something nice. They just can't say, yeah, he's going to be missed. He was important for what he did. He changed radio, whatever. It's, well, no, here's his record and here's how he sucked.
I just didn't care. Honestly, I was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, I never listened to him, so I can't say I was or was not a fan. I did see some stuff posted that I haven't seen refuted about things he said or did. I'm like, whatever. But it got posted. Like, I'm in a group that's for the Indy 500, like Indy 500, and somebody posted it in there. And I was like, and it got ugly and it got deleted. I'm like, don't post it here. It doesn't belong here. This is our safe space. This is an area I go to not hear about this. And then, but even then, somebody's like, well, who died? Somebody I really didn't watch the news. And I said who it was. I said, I don't know why it got posted here. And some guy immediately had to comment, like some negative comment about it. I was like, why do you have to just don't say anything at all? Like, just leave it alone in here so we keep getting things deleted. But yeah, it's just kind of all over the place.
So he died of lung cancer, and he had a national radio show. He worked for the Kansas City Royals. So he came from a sports background, Chase. So he worked in Kansas City, went to Sacramento, in the early mid 80s, he had a radio show there, made it national when federal regulation of AM radio went away, called the Fairness Doctrine. So in 1988, he launched this national radio show by about 1990, 91, it was the biggest radio show in the country, and it's lasted ever since then. He always was, he did ESPN for a while. He got in trouble over a Donovan McNabb thing. people are prickly about quarterbacks sometimes and ethnicity. Not a new issue. Doug Williams, Donovan McNabb, Colin Kaepernick, all the way through. It
Michael Vick. Hey, he did his time, Jer. Leave him alone.
Look, I love quarterbacks, all of them, as long as they have more touchdowns than interceptions and they can win games. I don't care. I love Jacoby Brissett. He wins games for the Colts when he's here, right? It's all good. And now I guess I'm a Carson Wentz fan. So be it. Anyway, Rush smoked cigars. He wound up getting lung cancer. He announced it a year ago, fought it for a year. He was on the radio a couple of weeks ago, been away from the show, and he passed away. The Indianapolis Star and Gannett, I guess the USA Today, of course, they chose the picture they were going to run with it, and some people took offense, was Rush at Pebble Beach, not Pebblebrook in Noblesville, but Pebble Beach, smoking his cigar and having this real smirk on his face from 20 years ago. So then everybody's pissed off that they choose, the guy that died of lung cancer. They chose the photo they ran was him puffing on the cigar.
Yeah, probably not the best thing to do just for a neutral, sometimes you just want to read it into the record. Yeah, you don't have to just twist the knife. Yeah, there's ways of being a little more discreet about it than that. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, really? I was like people, because people are going to look. His people either love him or hate him, or there's a bunch of people like me that are apathetic towards him, don't care. But,
I'm sorry.
But the people that love him are going to look for any sign of the quote left media to hate him.
Chase, it's your show, man. You are OG.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You want to.
Anyways, who's the really crazy guy on the radio? Got banned from everything.
Alex Jones.
Donald
Trump.
Alex Jones is more my style. Not a big Rush guy, but I can get down to some Alex Jones.
So in the very beginning, Rush Limbaugh was an entertainer. It was infotainment, he was a shock jock doing modern politics. And almost everybody you hear in modern talk radio is in that lineage. Something they get from their style comes from there. Some of the roots of this show are probably in that as well. He's somebody, even if you don't politically agree with any of it or all of it, the entertainment and the style of doing the show and some of the fun, uplifting parts of it, big deal. Obviously, it's been 10 or 15 years since he's really been at the peak, and I think he'd been off of WIBC, which was the biggest talk radio station in Indianapolis. He'd been off there for 5 or 6 years, and I think he was on 1260 WNDE or I think he's actually been on the sports talk station. So I don't know, just sad. Sad. Yeah. It's always sad to see that happen.
Yeah, he's dead. R.I.P.
Betty White's still kicking though. So
wish a couple other old people would die.
You got a list?
Oh yeah.
Just a few more.
Some in this town. A
few more.
Some in Congress.
Mega dittos. All right. So I did stay up late. I watched the whole Daytona 500 this year. I hadn't watched a whole one in a while.
I heard the 500 stands for hours.
It seems to be going that way.
Yeah, it was long. So it was on Valentine's Day, Chase.
Yes.
And it started at 2:30, and they run. I was watching the NASCAR race. I have to speak like I'm a NASCAR fan. I've attended 2 of these in person. And after the second one, I said, this is bullshit. They started too late in the day and it rained on us and it got rain shortened. Well, because guess what happened this year?
South Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. In the afternoon.
It's really northern Florida.
Or is it?
Yeah. It's like,
well, still Florida.
It's between Jacksonville and Orlando. So it's not that far in. But yeah, you basically 2:30 in the afternoon for the TV window. They started the race. They made it 15 laps, crashed half the field. Lightning strike happened, so they had to go into a holding pattern for a half an hour because that's what we do now.
Clear the grandstands.
Clear the grandstands. Everybody has to go away. And then a half an hour, deluge happened, and it starts raining like crazy.
Rained so hard that some of the drivers went and did photo ops by like the driver for Chip Ganassi, who runs a McDonald's car, drove to McDonald's in his fire suit and got food, and they recorded it and made a social media post out of it. Like they let a driver, I was like, they let a driver just leave the track.
Mm-hmm. And
during the race, because like they had that, and it was pouring when he's there. You're like, well, I mean, it's not going to stop, and it takes, even with the Air Titans, it takes a couple hours to drive a track.
It was Ross Chastain, and it's his very first year driving the McDonald's car. He gets to the drive-up window as a NASCAR driver in Daytona. He rolls up to the window, and they have no idea who he is.
I wouldn't have any idea.
He's like, hey, I drive the McDonald's. He's like, I drive the McDonald's car. Oh, cool. In the Daytona 500. Oh, okay. All right. Whatever. The lady did not know, did not care, had not a clue.
I've been to the Daytona 500 track before.
Yeah?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I was a big Jeff Gordon fan back in the day when I was like 6 or 7.
You were into rainbows, weren't you?
Yeah. Huge rainbow guy. I had his own helmet. I'd drive around on my go-kart acting like I was him. Kissed a couple boys.
So they finally got the race restarted. My plan for Valentine's Day was I was going to watch the race with my in-laws at Sarah, we were in the in-laws, watch the race, go out to our dinner at the Wings Etc. and then be done for the night. Instead, we went to like a 4:00 dinner because I'm like, well, hell, we got time now. It's not they're having a deluge. Went to Muncie, got back home, and got home in time to watch the race restart at like 9 p.m.
That turned on. I was like, oh, how bad is it? And I look, and I'm like, I don't keep that well up on NASCAR, but I look, I'm like, are they still in stage 1? I was like, oh my, they're 25 in or so. I was like, oh,
how many laps are there?
200.
Oh, God.
And they were like 26 in or so. It wasn't that far in. So I watched it till about 10:30, and I was like tapping out, and I went to bed.
I went to bed in stage 3 with like 40 or 50 laps to go, and I'm just doing everything I can to try to keep my eyes open to see the race finish. And it's the most boring thing ever because they crashed half the field, and with the package that they had for the cars, they've got these giant spoilers. So if you pulled out of line at all, you were just going straight to the back.
The spoilers are cartoonishly enormous, and they're so bad that they know that they're bad. So they make part of them out of like clear Lexan.
Right.
And I saw a guy leaning, and like deck lids here, spoiler is this tall.
Yeah,
and it sticks up, and like this much of it's clear. And the guy's like he has to lean up onto it. I was like, is the car up on a jack? I'm like, I don't think it is. I think the spoiler is just that huge.
Yeah, and they made part of it clear so that the drivers could see through it. Then they were saying, after like 20 laps, there's so much crap on there that it just covers it up anyway. You need like tear-offs on your spoiler so the drivers can see through it on their mirrors. So their rules package is completely out of whack. But when they lost half the field, they lost the show because you needed to have 20 or 30 cars together to have enough cars to actually make progress and to push up. If there were 15 cars or 20 or whatever they had running, as soon as 3 guys pulled out, they would just go straight to the back. They would never have a chance. And then everybody just rode on the high side and you're stuck. It's like being stuck on a 1-lane road. You can't pass anybody. And if you do, you're going to the back. So with a lap and a half to go or a lap to go, you finally had people start to make the move. And Team Penske was running 1-2.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski and the Miller Lite car of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano and the Shell Pennzoil Ford. Going into turn 3, Logano has the lead, tries to block Keselowski, and they both hit each other.
Yeah, and then I listened to a podcast with guys who race, and they thought McDowell got into Keselowski in second.
Keselowski was second,
and kind of ran him into Logano.
But you have the draft; nobody's stopping, right? It's the last lap of the Daytona 500. If you've got to run, don't go backing up to anybody because you're not gonna lift. Well, if you lift, you're getting spun.
Yeah. Evidently, that's what they were doing. Though, is that the podcast I listened to was Off Track with Inter Rossi, and evidently they said listen to radios like Logano or Keselowski was trying to back off to give himself room for a run. Logano knew he was backing off, so Logano starts. So you guys are in front of a freight train of how many cars, and you're going to slow down on the last lap.
You're all going to back the field up,
and then
because you don't want to get too far away because you think the people behind you are slowing down because that's how you get runs.
So McDowell gave him a little bump, and then just watched the Penske's part the ways and turn into a fireball as he just drove through.
Keselowski's car wound up in the wall and looked just like the Miller Lite can that Chase left in the steaming in the sink in the bathroom.
It just kept coming. I was like, I got to put it somewhere.
That's why Keselowski's wreck kept going. He just kept getting hit over and over again. He had a rough ride.
I follow this guy on TikTok, and he plays this NASCAR game a lot. And people who play this game take it so seriously, and he'll get like halfway through the match or almost towards the end.
Is it iRacing?
It looks real. Yeah, it's like. People are super into it.
They take it very serious. It's not video games. It is a simulation.
Yes. He'll take it like all the way through the race. and then he'll go backwards and wreck the guy in the lead or something, or he'll bump someone, and people freak out about it. It's the funniest thing ever.
Terrorist.
You get banned from leagues from that.
Yeah, you'll get the keys to the league taken.
It's always some old guy, and he's like, seriously, I'm writing that one down. And then he'll be like, oh, I didn't do it on purpose. Yeah, sure, kid. It's so funny.
So it was Michael McDowell winning the race. It was his first. He had run like 350 races in his career.
Yeah.
He had always been a back marker. Like there's two classes of NASCAR drivers. There's the guys like Denny Hamlin that are making like $15 million a year. And then there's guys like Michael McDowell who have been driving for the same money you make, Chase.
Yes.
And they drive somebody else's motor home to the race and they get to run.
So out of the shake and bake, he's definitely the bake.
Yeah, he's the bake. He literally was Trevor Bain's motorhome driver when he won the race like 10 years ago.
Okay.
He's been 14 years in the league. This is his first win. Total underdog. But at the super speedways, it's just that's the way it works out.
Yeah, he was there. He was
in the top five all day.
Yeah. But
it wasn't a true fluke.
It's a bit of a lottery. Everybody goes the same speed there. It's just a chess game.
And you've got to be able to work the air and figure out how to be in the right place. And he did exactly what you had to do to complete 500 miles faster. But he was driving the Love's car on Valentine's Day. I thought that was cool. They were the sponsor was very happy and excited about it. So I think that's cool. Young American guy, well, younger than me, between my age and your age, Chase.
I'm getting old.
So I thought it was neat. Former IndyCar driver too.
Yeah, from back in the day.
Yeah, 2005. He had 2 starts for Rocket Sports.
And then he wanted to go big time, and he got into NASCAR.
He didn't have enough money, so he did that. But this notion in NASCAR of these guys that have there's 2 worlds.
Yeah.
Dale Jr. on his podcast had Randy LaJoie and Corey LaJoie on. Randy's the guy that raced in the 90s, and Corey is his son. Randy has a seat manufacturing company. So all these racers, they buy LaJoie seats and put them in. And Corey's been racing in the Cup Series for 2 or 3 years. He finished like 8th or 9th. And he's one of these have-nots as well. He literally has been racing full-time for like 3 years in the Cup Series. And then during the week, he's working for his dad welding seats in the factory. Denny Hamlin doesn't do that. It's just surreal. Like,
yeah, and then, like, I talked last week, I think it was after the show, but like Martin Truex was almost that guy, just like journeyman drivers. They're around. You'll know they're around for years, but they're like, oh, they're just in it. They're in it because they want to be in it. And then he gets with the right team the right year, and now all of a sudden he's the guy
he's making huge money.
Making huge money, and just he got the right place at the right time. But yeah, there's a bunch of those guys that are just there, and they're probably taking tires that some other team doesn't need because their guy wadded it up partway through the race or something, borrowed motors. And
LaJoie said he's been running that for like 3 years. He was driving a car for the Go Fast group, and literally he had the Me car. He had his own face on the Old Spice car, which looked just like the Ricky Bobby car.
Yeah.
Talladega Nights. He did the same thing. And he's like, when I was driving for those guys, the cars were all dented. Nothing was right. It was old tires. It was like it looked like somebody had hit it with a ball peen hammer. Nothing was quite good on the car. It's like, I got in this car for the new team he's driving for this year. And it's like, everything's perfect. I've never had equipment like this in my life.
He still won with duct tape on a fender.
Yeah.
One of his fenders was still beat. I looked, I was like, he won with a duct. I mean, like, because that's one of those cars where, like,
it goes to the museum.
There's certain things you can do to the car that actually don't hurt it, like beating it up a little bit. But if you hit it the wrong way, then you're done just because of aero.
So they did say, I think LaJoie said on the podcast with Dale Earnhardt Jr., he said when they had that first lap 15 wreck, his car got hit and that rear spoiler got a very advantageous dip in it.
Got a little lean back.
Yeah, so he got the advantage he needed from that.
I knew they were mandating that they have to keep the rear valance on the car because sometimes I think the guys wouldn't really care if the rear bumper got pulled because they figured out it made the car faster.
Yeah, back in the 80s, you'd lose drag, so they would intentionally design a car that as soon as somebody bumped them, it'd fall off and it would be fine.
Sometimes guys would like flatten the side of the car because that would help their aero and do stuff like that. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. He was hanging out there. He's got duct tape hanging off the car. It was like, good for him. He took the two Penske's out. I mean, I watched it a couple times trying to figure out, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how exactly that worked for him, but good for him. And man, I bet it was an awkward Monday morning at the Penske garage. But
in the show notes, there's a link in there. They are not speaking. They said they have not talked to each other yet, and they're not sure they're going to anytime soon. Keselowski and
Brad looked mad after the race.
His comment was, I can't drive both cars.
I think he also somebody he wrecked me for the win. Something, I don't know who he was talking about that, but he dropped the F-bomb and he was real mad. Logano, I think, was in victory lane congratulating the winner at the end.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, oh, that's good for him. But I don't think he didn't get the ride that Keselowski got a ride. His car was in real bad shape.
So Roger Penske had 3 cars just completely destroyed. Tim Cindric, the son of the guy Tim Cindric's son, Austin, Tim runs Team Penske, and Austin he's going to be a full-time Cup driver next year. He got a chance in the Verizon Ford, the 5G Ford, 5G Cancer Ford. He was doing great. He was top 5 most of the day as well, and then he was
out in the same
trashed.
It was just the first thing I thought when I saw the first replay. I was like, Penske lets his guys drive hard, but his whole rule is don't take each other out. 2 guys. They were the last cars that touched each other were those 2 cars, and then they went.
You just look at it and you go, well, that's Daytona. That's what you expect.
Yeah.
You put them in a bag, shake them up, and see what comes out.
If you want to see some good audio about any of those races, and I guess they don't have restrictor plates anymore, but they still kind of call them plate races. Just look up Tony Stewart and Talladega or Daytona, and there's some gold videos of him going off on rants about those races. Because they're always like,
I don't think we crashed enough cars here today, guys.
Yeah, we need to run them halfway, just turn them around and run half of them one way and half of them the other way and just run them into each other. He's like, we're not going to be happy until we wreck, 3/4 of the cars? Yeah, he went on a rant. He thought we should do figure 8s.
As an owner of a team, I can't imagine. You work all winter, get your cars ready. You know that like 8 of them are coming back in pristine condition without body damage. And if you have 3 or 4 cars, you very well could lose all of them in one lap. Like you're just gone, done.
Yeah.
Pack it up. Race over.
Just watch like $5 million worth of cars and $100 million worth of R&D go up in smoke and just in the first couple laps,
just trashed. All right, well, we've been tap dancing around this for Mason for a while, but he hasn't made.
I left the mic on for him.
I know, and we got complaints. I got texts saying that there's a hiss because we left the mic on for Mason and he never showed. Chase,
tisk.
What do you got to promote? What's going on over there? You got anything fun?
Is this Final Thoughts?
Yeah, this is Final Thoughts.
Okay. Well, it's been a while since I've been on.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it was actually pre-election. So I wanted to see
Did your guy win?
I wanted to see who you voted for. Were you happy? Were you sad?
I wanted both teams to have fun. I voted for Jorgensen, man. I voted for Joe Jorgensen.
Old Joe.
And my team didn't win, but that's okay. It is what it is. I'm glad we got a change, and it's like a reset. I looked very optimistically at the results and said, well, the Republicans obviously have to rebuild. They could never possibly ever run Donald Trump again, right? After the riot.
I wasn't going to vote.
Yeah.
And then the day of the election, I was like, all right, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna do it. I need to. I wanted to vote locally, anyways. And then I was like, who am I gonna vote for? Biden, Trump. Biden, Trump. Trump supporters make me want to vote for Biden. Biden supporters make me want to vote for Trump. And then I decided just to write in a vote.
Uh-oh.
Who do you think I wrote in?
Dakota Davis.
Wrong.
Oh. Who'd you write in?
He's a very famous guy.
Ric Flair.
No. Yeah, he's darker than Ric Flair.
Colin Kaepernick.
Not Colin Kaepernick. He sings music.
James Brown.
He raps. He's married to a Kardashian.
Kanye. You wrote in Kanye.
I didn't write in Kanye. No, I wrote in Tulsi Gabbard.
All right. So
she's pretty hot.
You kind of voted Democrat.
I did. I would have voted for her if she ran for president.
Yeah.
Or if she won the nomination. Yeah.
Well, you get to go. Which polling place did you decide to go to?
Grace Baptist.
Grace Baptist.
Yeah. I saw someone who knew Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Hey, vote for Betsy," and I was like, "I'm going to."
All good. Did you get recognized in there?
No.
As Chase with that long hair? Nobody knows who you are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Christy knew you were talking
completely
about
different guy.
Yeah, you are. You look different.
The new me.
It's a
Katie hates it.
New year, new Chase. Yeah, I did say something. She posted a picture of you on Valentine's Day, and I sent her a DM saying, "Oh yeah, reminding her what a sexy beast you are." And she said, "Yeah, it was. I had to reuse an old picture from before the phone."
I went into a gas. No, I was at the Dollar Tree a couple weeks ago, and I had my hat on. And with my hat on, it looks like a mullet, but it's not a mullet.
Take it off for these cheapskates over here.
It's not done, but I mean, it's not a mullet.
How long are we going to go?
I'm going.
Do you have a length, or it's just until next?
You look like a '60s era like folk rock singer,
yeah,
or like a serial killer from like
I'm not
NCIS.
gonna lie. I'm about to drop the F-bomb. I feel like a fucking cowboy. Legit. I was looking at cowboy hats last night. I've been listening to a ton of country music. I feel like a cowboy. I mean, I got Copenhagen in my mouth most of the day. I just need a steed.
Just a lot of Chris Ledoux music.
So I'm in the Dollar Tree and I'm checking out, and there's this old lady behind me, and she goes, "That looks like my son. He has a mullet too. His is a little longer than yours." And I was like, "Oh, I gotta cut my hair now." I like it.
Have you braided it yet? Have you done anything weird with it?
I'm gonna braid it. I want cornrows eventually, just once, just to do it.
I don't know if you're allowed to appropriate that culture.
I had a black roommate, Jer.
So you think he'll braid it for you?
Yeah, I'll ask him how it's done.
How about you go to MVP and ask Clay to do it? I'll give you a coupon. I'll give you a free haircut coupon and ask for a braiding.
I don't know. I told Katie I'd get it cut when we got married, so it's probably got another year and a half growth left. So
it's gonna be long. I can't believe how long it is now.
I'm not gonna let it go past my shoulders, but
It's about there.
well, not the sides. I always got the sides. I always did a fade, so that this is starting from like it being bald on the sides. So the sides aren't as long as I'd like them to be, but it is about there.
I know, but a fade. I get a fade as well. So you're talking about maybe an inch and a half longer. That's all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. It's
getting there. I don't know.
Christy Avery, Category 5 superfan, wants to know if you get yourself a new NFL team. New year, new you, new man.
I'd ask her the same thing. They just got rid of their star quarterback.
She's wondering if maybe you're a Dallas Cowboys fan now. Texas and all.
Why?
Why?
You should feel like a cowboy.
Oh, no. I'd never root for the Cowboys. They're not America's team. Did you not listen to the show earlier where I said Texas was one of the most annoying states?
They're kind of the pinnacle of that
Packers are
annoyingness
America's
is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
They are the kind of pinnacle of annoying Texas.
No, I'll never lead the Bears, Christy. I enjoy watching your team suffer throughout the whole year. I couldn't move conferences.
I love that you're both
divisions.
terrible. You've not won.
You can say we're terrible, Jared, but we were a playoff team this year. We beat the Super Bowl champs. We did.
I can't even take you seriously.
We did. We're basically the Super Bowl champs. We beat Tom Brady on primetime television.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're one quarterback away. Sean Watson, come home, baby. I wanted to draft you anyways.
Sean Watson. Do you honestly think that he's going to land there?
No.
I think he's going to Denver.
No, I think he'll either. I don't know. He was talking about Miami. He was talking about the Jets for some reason. They're a shit show. I don't know. We'll probably end up getting like Derek Carr or someone.
Not Tannehill. Harvard boy.
All I know is we could play with no quarterbacks, and we'd look about the same as we always
Denver
do.
tried that. That did not go well. It was not good. It was. I tried that trick in the fantasy football league.
We'll still finish second in the division every year. The Lions will always be last, and then the Vikings are always supposed to be really good, but they never are. So
at least they have Kirk.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. He helps our defense out quite a bit.
All right.
What about you? You excited for Carson Wentz?
Oh God, I don't know. It's really hard to look at a list of guys that got out of their original city and did well in the second place, right? Drew Brees left San Diego and went to New Orleans and won a Super Bowl. Carson Palmer kind of did the same thing, leaving Cincinnati and going to Arizona, and he had some success. Other than that, we're talking like Steve Young going from Tampa to San Francisco. There's not many situations where it's great. And I guess Ryan Tannehill going from Miami but he was there for such a short period of time in Miami to New England or to the Titans. It doesn't feel like it was long enough.
Well, we've got his secret weapon in Nick Foles. So if you want to do a trade for Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles, we take Darius Leonard off your hands for him.
You think you'd do that?
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like it would have been just historically hilarious if Wentz had gone to Chicago just to screw Nick Foles again. just to Wally Pip him back again. Constantly. Every time he's there. So that's the joke, is that the Colts are going to sign Foles in like week 10. They'll be on the same roster again. I don't know. Zach, what do you got for final thoughts? You got anything for me?
No, not much. Shovel your sidewalks, people. That's just annoying. As a guy who tries to run.
I did come home.
You don't have a sidewalk, so you get a pass.
No, I did see you running down Baker, in front of Baker Park on the street in the snowstorm.
Monday. It was in the lull between. Yeah, because I was like...
I was trying to beat the storm home, so it was like noon. I was trying to debate.
I think it got dicey right where I saw you. Maybe. I think the worst spot was people also... I mean, some people can't help it. If they leave the car on the street and then when they come plow, it makes the road real narrow where the car's parked. And it's the sketchiest part. And I ran yesterday and it wasn't too bad. I had yak tracks on. I had to take them off. So, but yeah, I got Monday afternoon, like right around noon, and got out before it went awful.
It was funny to watch the plowing get done. Indianapolis apparently is making a big deal that they're going to hire somebody to plow their side streets now.
They hit don't 6 inches. Yeah, 6 inches, and they call in contractors.
And it's going to cost them like $1.5 million to do it, and they call on these 100 guys that will do it. I think it's insane to go through these storms and not have regular snowplow maintenance. I get to sit in my front living room because I have two very, very upper middle class, 2 living rooms. Sat in the green room, and I watched the snowplow go by, and the county truck went by like 4 times within an hour, twice in each direction, which was amazing. But there were guys just dinking around with their own little private plow trucks, and they were plowing my street anyway.
Yeah, my brother
he's and everything else.
My brother lives on like a dead end street in Indianapolis proper, like around Nora. And he said they don't ever come down a street. They haven't come down a street yet. And they used to get plowed, but it got plowed because his neighbor had a plow. Well, his neighbor thought he was going to move, so sold the plow. And so I was like, told Jared, they don't have to worry about what to do with it. It's a dead end street. My brother's on the dead end. Just shove it to the back and just all the way to the back of the street and let it go. But he said, yeah, they haven't come. So my brother's like cleared his driveway, but it's so he can get a running start when he hits the street and hope he can get out to the next main road. But the roads in Newcastle aren't. They get 6 a.m. I think that on Tuesday morning, they came by my house both ways. They just made a single pass. The storm before that, they made like 3 or 4 passes down both roads. But it wasn't too bad. It was like wet pavement by. I ran again Wednesday. By then, like I said, there was quite a bit of wet pavement to run on. So they did about as good as they could around here. But yeah, evidently, my brother said that Newcastle made Indianapolis look really good. And he said if you could have done a helicopter or a drone shot, you could tell where Carmel ended and Indianapolis began, because he said Carmel's wet pavement, Indianapolis was just snow covered. It was just like a line.
We need to crowdfund you getting that snowmobile so that when you take your runs, you can just do the sidewalks. We'll just have you
run. Yeah,
just go through. And
I don't run in the sidewalks very much anyway, but I at least clear it for the mailman. My mom lives on a main street, so she's on a corner. I do the side street. Nobody ever walks. The only tracks on my sidewalk are cat tracks. But I still clear it just in case somebody wants to get through. But
I've got a ton of rabbits. My yard gets rabbits in it. And with the snow, I can see them running. I can see where they've run across the front yard.
We have a few rabbits.
Yeah. Or neighborhood cats, but mostly rabbits. So, I don't know. This has been fun. I'm so glad we got to catch up with Chase. We'll excuse producer Zach over to the other side of the room to start pressing buttons. But this has been fun. We'll be back on Thursday of next week with a post Nashville update.
Don't drink the pickle beer.
Pickle beer bad.
Yeah, it's gross.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.